In 2026, over 80% of developers are saying that they are unhappy in their current jobs, and a good majority of them are quite anxious about what the future holds. I mean, getting a job has pretty much never been more difficult as opposed to right now in 2026. Junior roles are getting cut, and we have an overflow of seniors in the job market that some of them is taking for more than a year for them to find a job. All that to say that the software engineering market is in a very interesting position. You have new jobs opening up in the AI sector, but at the same time, you have plenty of other jobs being replaced. And all in all, I would say most software engineers are quite anxious. And this is the first time in software engineering history where we have an absurd amount of software engineers that are now considering other means of income that do not rely on a 9-to-5, including freelancing, building a SaaS, just really going into entrepreneurship. This video is dedicated to the software engineer who wants to get into entrepreneurship but might not have too good of an idea as to how to go about it and what business to even start in the first place. Now, before I get into the video, let me first introduce myself to talk about who I am and why I want to talk about the subject, and then we can get straight into it. Now, I've been in the tech industry for actually over a decade now. That's me right there in robotics. This is our 2017 Los Angeles Regional Championship that we won. But after robotics, I went to UCLA to study the human consciousness as part of the Elegant Mind Club over a summer internship. After that, I went to NASA for a full year-long internship as a computer engineer. And after that, I went into the private sector, joining a bunch of companies as a software engineering consultant in my pretty much first ever job, making low six figures, and in 3 years making manager, making upwards of $250,000 in total compensation. I say not all of this to necessarily brag or anything, but rather to showcase that I was in a pretty good position, quote unquote good, in a 9-to-5 environment, but I left all of that behind to found AB Analytics, a B2B AI consulting firm located down here in Los Angeles. And last month, from February 15th to March 15th, we've done just over $600,000 in revenue. I also have a startup accelerator composed of software engineers from all over the world. And following the same exact process that I'm going to be discussing, the same exact business that I'm going to be discussing in this video, they have been able to achieve results that you can see in front of you. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into these results. What I'm going to get into straight and foremost is talking about the best business to start as a software engineer in 2026. Now, first and foremost, whenever you ask a software engineer what they think of a business, the first thing that will most likely come up is a SaaS. And rightfully so, because we are software engineers, we want to build a SaaS. However, the first thing that I want you to understand is you can forget about a SaaS. What has happened recently with AI development is that code has become increasingly commoditized. Okay? What this means is you have more non-technical founders than ever before getting into building technical products. Now, some of these non-technical founders are absolutely horrible with using this technology, right? And they have a bunch of bugs, a bunch of errors, but other non-technical founders are able to successfully pull it off, and I'm sure you've already seen the results of that maybe in your own day-to-day lives. Where the real opportunity lies for software engineer isn't to necessarily compete with the same non-technical founder on trying to vibe code a specific software and put it up on app market, but rather is to compete at a place where the world has to go there whether we want to or not. Now, as we know, right, the world's going to continuously advance. That's how technology has always played, and it goes so exponentially. When the Industrial Revolution came, that's what happened. When the smartphone age came, that's what happened. When the internet boom happened, that's exactly what happened. Everybody had to adopt. Those who were not able to adopt ended up being left behind. Think of the newspaper industry when the internet came out, okay? Now, what's happening right now with the AI wave that's fluctuating is the same exact thing. Mass adaptation is needed. But what's happening right now with everybody and their mother trying to build an AI agency, trying to get people into this type of sort of a hype train, is that you have a bunch of non-technical founders getting into AI development, and you have the few technical founders that are getting into AI development, and yet the entire massive market is burnt. Because, case in point, most people still do not fundamentally understand what AI is, what it can do, and most individuals are completely oblivious to the actual results that AI can have for them. Where a software engineer such as yourself comes into play here is just in the US alone, there are over 30 million businesses, and across the world, hundreds of millions of businesses that have to adapt to AI. They do not have a choice. If they do not adapt to AI, they will be outcompeted by the people who do adapt to AI. So they do not have a choice here. their operations, their entire workflow has to revolve around AI in one point or another. Right now, the people taking advantage of this are mostly the non-technical founders that started AI agencies. You might have already seen a couple on YouTube. You also have a couple of the big firms, such as the big four consulting firms like Deloitte, trying to get into this, but they're still, for the most part, serving the Fortune 500 companies. Nobody's really doing this at scale for the small and medium-sized businesses. Most software engineers are going to go down the path of a SaaS, either create a very hyper-specific B2B SaaS or a B2C SaaS, right, for mass market appeal. Now, this is what you've probably seen based on the indie hackers, right? You have Mark Lau and a couple other folks that have made a significant amount of money from a SaaS. Understand that for 99.99% of you, this is simply not feasible. Not to say that you can't do it, it's just to say the opportunity cost of doing other things is way better as opposed to just spending your time building a SaaS, because the number one thing that you need for SaaS as a business model for software engineer is going to be distribution. Which, if you're just starting off, this is the one thing you don't have. And what's the one thing that all of these indie hackers have in common? They have an audience, they have a distribution. They can make anything, be it an info product, be it a SaaS, and it would still do well. Similarly, if I made a SaaS here dedicated to my audience and sell it, I can make a lot of money from it. Whereas somebody else that makes that SaaS, since they don't have the distribution, they will not be able to make money from it. So what is the best business model if not SaaS for a software engineer, right? Well, the answer comes down to a service-based business, but with a specific twist, okay? And this twist that you might be thinking, okay, but what are you talking about? What twist? The twist is as follows. Every single software engineer that is currently watching this video, a lot of you are going to be located in various parts of the world. And even if you might share a specific country, you will not share a particular city. And even if you do share a particular city, right, there will still be aspects and zip codes of that city that you will not share. The chances of two people from a same exact location watching this video are going to be extremely, extremely low. Now, what the best business model right now is, since we know that all 30 million businesses in the US alone have to adapt to AI, and we know there's currently a bunch of non-technical founders in this AI agency, AI development space that are burning a lot of the businesses because they're not doing good work, the opportunity is as follows. All the software engineers currently watching this video have to become what I call a local celebrity. Essentially, what you want to do is for the next 3 to 5 years, you want to plan such that you will achieve financial freedom. Basically, I'm going to put having infinite money. And you're going to give yourself a 3 to 5 year timeline to accomplish that. And the way that's going to work is you are essentially going to become the go-to tech/AI, and I'm using this synonymously because right now most of the conversation about technology is going to be about AI. And when I say AI, please don't misunderstand and mistake me for N8N automations or Make.com automations. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm using AI as a very loose term here, but I really mean anything that you can do tech-wise as a software engineer you can provide. It can be even a simple software that you can provide, or it can be a full-on actual AI integration, be it with agents or whatever the case. So you need to become the go-to tech/AI person for your city, okay? Now, if you live in a very big city such as myself, like Los Angeles, obviously we have the LA County and we have multiple cities within that. So Glendale, Pasadena, Burbank, Beverly Hills, right, all these things. You would choose a city to own by that frame. And even then, I would say owning a zip code. For a lot of the places in the US, owning a zip code will get you so much money because chances are there's hundreds of millions of dollars flowing in that zip code. Now, what do you do actually to become this go-to tech and AI person? And how does this even result in a particular business model? Well, the business model is as follows. Within the first year of you establishing yourself on a local scene, you should be able to completely replace your 9-to-5 income. For a lot of you watching this, it's going to be in $100,000 to $300,000 range, okay? Realistically speaking, this is just one client paying you anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 a month. This can be one client you get every single every single month, or it can be one client you get once and just retain them for $30K a month. Now, you might think that's not possible, but before you make any type of conclusions, just hear me out. In the second to 3-year mark, what you're going to be doing is more so banking in on that celebrity status. Once you have a particular thing that you're offering, in this specific case, right, this entire premise is going to build on helping a particular business make the transition over to AI, right? And however you're going to help them do that. To give a particular example, let's say I'm working with lawyers here in my city. I'm helping them replace paralegals, right? That's just one of the services we offer. And we are augmenting every single law firm within the city to be able to replace paralegals such that they don't need to spend as much money, such that they can have more money for the settlement cases that they do, such that they can keep more of that money as well. So all in all, they're just making more money. And every single win that I get, every single win that my company gets to be fed into this particular circle. Now this circle is going to look something like this. Excuse my drawing abilities, I'm going to actually try this again. I'm just going to do a quick little circle like this. So we will have, let's say, right here, a client. Okay, so we're going to put this as a client. We're going to offer them a particular service, a particular offer. This is going to depend completely depending on the conversations you're going to have in the city. This is going to depend on the type of problem and the pain point you're going to go after. I don't want to get too specific or too general because once again, for each person, this is going to be different. I don't want to say a claim that might not be true for you, but in general, understand you are going to own a particular problem or a particular set of problems that you are best fit to solve. Once you have a client, you are going to turn that case study, right? I'm going to put our testimonial here into content, right? And that content is going to lead you to have more eyeballs, and those eyeballs are going to lead you to having more clients. But the way this is going to work on a local level is very interesting, because how are you going to get clients on a local level? Well, there's a variety of different ways that you're going to be able to do this. Either reaching out to people directly in your network, either going to businesses locally, either going to events such as a Chamber of Commerce, such as a Business Network International event, or any other business events that are happening in your city, or hosting your own events, right? With Cloud Community Ambassador, Cursor Ambassador programs, and all these AI programs that are coming out with ambassadorship, you can host very big events and educate people about AI and be able to do a call to action at the very end and sell them on particular things. But the way this flywheel works is starting from year one, if you give yourself, let's say, 3 to 5 year timeline to make this work, is you essentially start off as a glorified freelancer, so to say, because that's exactly what you're going to be initially. Once you get more testimonials, once you create more content revolving around whatever it is that you're helping for that problem, you post that on a local level, you get people to be aware of it, you have people refer you, right? You grow, you go more eyeballs on you, you'll be able to hire people, grow that even further, host your own events, host bigger events, more people will know about you, and eventually you will get to a point at about the 3-year mark, and I'm using this timeline because this is exactly what happened for me. Around the 3-year mark, you will become a household name. So this would mean that you pretty much, this entire thing will be able to run on its own without you having to put in any amount of effort, because referrals will keep coming to you, the content will be everlasting, considering bunch of other businesses are going to make this transition as well. And essentially what ends up happening is you decide to not compete with everybody else on this online digital space. You decide not to go on Upwork and decide to, torture yourself on there. You decide not to do Reddit marketing. You decide not to go on X and decide to make a bunch of posts. You decide not to do any of that. And what you decide to do is for the next 35 years, commit to helping your local businesses, which they have to, remember this, they have to transition over to AI. They have to adapt AI. There is no such thing as, oh, they're not going to do it, oh, my location won't. There's no such thing. Even if you take a look with the Industrial Revolution or the internet or anything that happened, even the third world countries where everybody said that adaptation wouldn't happen, it still happened. Sure, maybe 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, but at the end of the day, that adaptation, mass adaptation, still happened. Now, there's very few places on the planet that you won't see somebody carrying a smartphone, that you won't see internet, any of these things. Same thing with AI and business. This adaptation is going to happen, especially if you are from a first world country. So you can be sure that the current city that you're living in, that the businesses in your city within the next 5 or 10 years are going to adapt to AI and are going to need somebody to provide these solutions for them. It can be your job to create that bridge between the technical and the non-technical, and it can be your job to become the go-to person in your city doing exactly that. Now, why is this such a good opportunity? Why am I talking so passionately about this? Because this is completely foolproof. This is also the safest path that you can take as a software engineer, while at the same exact time having the highest reward. This is counterintuitive because usually it's high risk, high reward, but here you're not really taking any big risks. The chances of you failing are only if you give up. As long as you make a name for yourself on a local level, as long as you deliver good results for people, your name is going to get out there. As long as you decide to host more events, just try to get as many people to see you, get as many eyeballs as possible on the local level, use that content to feed into even more people. You are going to get too big to fail, essentially. And I've seen this happen with Dom, one of our founders in Quota CEO that's based in Sydney, Australia. I've seen this happen with Sandra in Boston, right? I've seen this happen with myself in my own city. I don't have to be the biggest in my city. Frankly, a lot of people might not even know me outside of Glendale, Burbank, Pasadena area, but I don't need that. That's exactly what I mean. I don't need the entire world to know me. I only need a handful of businesses, about 100 to 1,000 range in the local area to know about me, to know that I do good work. And all I have to do is, even once a month, if somebody refers to me, if somebody refers another business to me, I'm going to make my money out of that. That is how we are able to maintain upwards of $500,000, $600,000 a month in revenue, because we have constant influx of clients coming in and asking for us to do the implementation work for them. Sometimes it can be something as simple as an audit. Other times it can be something as, hey, genuinely, we need this, we want to adapt it, help us do it. But that's exactly who you want to become. This is going to be completely different from everything else that you have heard, and this is going to be somewhat counterintuitive for a software engineer to be able to do things on more of a local level, on more of a, communicating with people, going out there, making a name for yourself. But this is the world that you're going to have to adapt to. Unfortunately, you can no longer just sit behind your computer, apply to jobs online, and hope you're going to make a living that way. Not to say it's completely impossible. If you want to do that, you can go ahead. But the path to freedom, the path to financial freedom, especially as a software engineer, in my personal opinion, this is the easiest, safest, and the best way to go about it. All you need to dedicate is 3 to 5 years. I'm not saying you quit your job instantly. You can do this on the side of your job very easily. Use the weekends, use after work or before work as time to set up these events, do these things, join the Chamber of Commerce. You do them month by month, let them compound. Once again, give yourself 3 to 5 years, and you will notice that you will get to a point where you essentially will never fail because you have built a foundation so perfectly. And for those of you talking about, what about personal branding? What about online space? You can still get into that. If you have all this clout behind you, if you have all this credibility behind you, competing online is going to be even easier, I would say. For example, I wouldn't have been able to grow this channel to the place that I grew it to without already being what I am in a local level. Without further ado, I don't want to yap on any longer. Thank you so much for watching. And on April 19th, I am hosting a free workshop on selling as a software engineer, more specifically, how to do sales as a software engineer. So if you've had any trouble on charging people, maybe you underpriced yourself, maybe you couldn't close people out, maybe they told you I'll think about it, you didn't know what to say about the objections, this is the perfect workshop for you to come. The link will be in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good rest of your day.